Have you ever felt like, I know blues harmonica riffs, but I still don't feel like I know how to take a solo? Here's 3 steps to building solos. Step 1, get some riffs in your repertoire and improvise the heck out of them to build up your blues muscle. Step 2, understand and get some solo basics down. And step 3, put it all together. Riffs plus basics equals solo. By the end of this lesson, you'll be on your way to shredding some killer blues harmonica solos. Step 1. The number 1 mistake beginners make when it comes to learning riffs is thinking that the goal is to know riffs. Wrong. Riffs are not an end unto themselves. Riffs aren't Indiana Jones. They're more like Indiana Jones' whip. We can use our imagination with them and win the day.
Don't worry, I know all kinds of harmonica riffs. I can take a killer blues solo.
Yeah, Indy's always improvising with that whip, and that's exactly what we need to do with our riffs. And step 1 here, just like a personal trainer would show you exercises that you can do at the gym to build your muscle, same thing here. The more that you play around with riffs, the more you're gonna build your blues muscle. That's what I'm gonna show you how to do right now. Exercise number 1. Repeat it, repeat it. To exemplify this, let's take riff number 1 from my last video, 6 easy blues riffs, and if you haven't checked out that video yet, you probably wanna check that out. So we're gonna take riff number 1, and we're just gonna repeat it. One cool thing about repeating a riff without stopping it is that it will usually change where in the bar you're starting it. That's a concept called phrasing that we're going to explore more later in this lesson. Also, nothing drives home a point like repeating it. I mean, nothing drives home a point like repeating it. Nothing drives home a point.
Enough of this shit. Get back to the lesson.
Okay, I'll stop now. But the point is, repetition can help to build climax. And of course, we don't have to repeat it verbatim. Let's repeat the riff this time using the 2 variations that I showed in the last lesson. Exercise 2. It's reverse it. When it comes to reversing it, I find that it's easier to write it out, because if I'm trying to think in my brain, okay, what is the opposite of that riff? It's kind of like, But if I can just look at the number, look at the tabs, okay, 4, 4, 3, 2, just write that backwards, 2, 3, 4, 4, or whatever it is. That's very simple to do. So this riff backwards sounds like... For fun, I wrote out the 2 variations too, and I thought they sounded good together like this. Exercise number 3. Add dynamics. Dynamics just means playing something louder or softer, and it's a huge secret to unlock emotional impact in your playing. Chicago harmonica legend Corky Siegel has a whole course devoted to this subject. Most of us tend to play with too much air pressure, too loud. So if you take nothing else away from this, try playing your licks really quietly. In addition to playing each riff loudly or quietly, you can vary individual notes to be quiet or loud within the riff. Or you could gradually get louder, what we call a crescendo. Check out this crescendo. Exercise number 4. We can make it longer. We've already looked at how you can make riffs a bit longer by just repeating a note in them, but we can also make riffs longer by adding notes to them. And this is where knowing a scale like the almost blues scale will help a lot. Here's a couple examples of making this riff longer. We're halfway through these exercises. Congratulations.
What do you mean, congratulations? I couldn't keep up with your hullabaloo.
Well, New Bluke, it sounds like you would be a perfect candidate for my beginner to boss course, where I assume you've never touched a harmonica and take you in bite-sized bits on how to become a total harmonica boss. Check it out over at harmonica.com.
Stop trying to sell me, you whippersnapper.
It's not gonna work.
All right, relax, New Blue. Don't forget that YouTube allows you to slow down the video to 3/4 speed or even all the way down to half speed. Exercise number 5. Making sure... I mentioned this in my last video when we were talking about riff number 3. How we could take just the first 3 notes of that, right? We'd shorten it and just take the first 3 notes. And that's something we could play all the way through a whole solo, just like Sonny Boy Williamson does here. But to illustrate that we can do that with any of these riffs, let's take riff number 5 as another example. This riff has 8 notes in it. Let's just take the first 5 notes and repeat that and see what we get. Again, another cool thing about repeating a riff over and over is it makes us want to start playing with the rhythm in different ways. Exercise number 6. Play with the phrasing. Phrasing is an important concept in music, and while it can refer to making changes in tone or dynamics, it usually refers to changing the rhythm of a sequence of notes. Let's take riff number 4, for example. We played that with every note on the downbeat except for the last note, which we anticipated, like this. Ready, go. Let's play with the phrasing a little bit. Let's play the first 2 notes more quickly and then the rest of the notes on the upbeat. Ready, go. And so that changes the vibe of the riff. Or we could play the first 2 notes really long and then kind of rush the ending like this. Ready, go. Exercise 7. Okay, so this is our last exercise for building our blues muscle. It's also phrasing. Exercise 6, we looked at the phrasing within a riff, which is kind of like on a micro level. Now we're going to back up and look at more of a macro level. Riffs don't exist in a vacuum.
Oh, I guess I don't need this then.
I guess when you're first learning the riff at home, they kind of exist in a vacuum, but eventually you're going to play them within the context of the form. So on a macro level, we're paying attention to what does the riff sound like within the form. What does it sound like if we play it in the first 4-bar phrase? What does it sound like if we play it in the second 4-bar phrase? Which bar in that phrase? Which beat in that bar? This is kind of the macro level of phrasing, and this is why it's cool to take a riff and play it throughout the whole form, because we can hear, oh, where does this riff sound cool? Let's take riff number 2, for example, which in the last lesson we played at the beginning of the second 4-bar phrase in the 12-bar blues. Let's remember what it sounds like there. But check out how it builds tension when we play it at the beginning of the first 4-bar phrase, and I'll even repeat it. In that context, it's kind of begging for us to resolve it. Maybe something like this. So pay attention to where in the form you like a particular riff the best. All right, that's 7 exercises for building your blues muscle. Now, step 2, I'm going to share some secrets about solo basics with you, and then we're going to get to the most exciting part of all, where we actually play a blues harmonica solo together. And hey, if my lessons are help fueling your excitement for the harmonica, please like the video and subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any of the new lessons and gear reviews coming your way from harmonica.com. Step 2, understand and get some solo basics down. The biggest mistake I see beginners make when they get up on stage in front of a group of people to take a solo for the first time, they're feeling the nerves and they do this. Hey, we all get nerves sometime, and nerves can actually help us because that's a real emotion that we can channel into our playing. But this was the flaw. You got to remember secret number 1, and that is the draw more than blow principle. So if you freak out and forget everything else, this would be a much better response. I mean, maybe that's not the most awesome thing ever, but it's a lot better than this. Draw more than you blow. You analyze any great second position harmonica solo, it's likely to be 80 to 90% draws. Secret number 2 is to use dynamics. That's the other problem with this. There's no dynamics. It's all at this loud level. And so if we want to draw people in, the way to draw people in is we have to whisper to them, right? When you draw on your lover, you're not like, I love you. You're like, hey, baby, I love you. Secret number 3, the other thing besides varying intensity that draws people in is to use space. When you're nervous, you feel like everything's moving at the speed of light, so 1 second feels like an hour. But the most powerful statement you can make in your playing is space. If you get that principle in your head and you just go, oh, all of a sudden that space is what carries all the weight. It's not the notes, but it's the space in between the notes where the true beauty and power lies. Plus, that's going to help you on your way with secret number 4. Tell a story, right? A blues harmonica solo is just like a story, and every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So should your solo. And that's why I keep harping on knowing and memorizing the 12-bar blues form, because you might play 1 time or 2 times or 10 times through the form, but at some point your solo is going to be over and it's time for the singer to sing or for the next soloist to get their turn. Nothing says beginner hack more than finishing your solo in the middle of the form. All the musicians are looking at each other like, why is he stopping in the middle of the form? What do we do now? So when you play a few notes, and then you stop and just let it chill for a second, that starts to create, okay, now we've kind of established something. So we want to tell a story, and we're not going to be afraid to use space, and let's do that together. Now for the part I've been excited about, let's play this solo together. Step 3, riffs plus basics equals solo. So this is good practice for one way out of the infinite number of possibilities of how we could put these riffs together to play a solo. We're going to play 2 choruses.
Well, why just the choruses? We should play the verses too. And what about the bridge?
No noob, Luke. In this context, a chorus just means 1 time through the 12-bar blues form. So 2 choruses means our solo is going to last 2 times through the 12-bar blues form. You ready to rock? Leaving space. Again, leaving space. Congratulations. But wait, there's still a problem. You need a context for memorizing these riffs, and you need some color palette for how you can embellish these riffs. All of that is answered right here in this video, because the Almost Blues scale will provide a context for you to be able to memorize these riffs and to embellish these riffs in killer ways